Hello, and welcome to Deep Space Love, a Star Trek podcast in which a married Trekkie couple explore love in all its forms throughout the final frontier. I'm Nicole Praska, one half of said couple.
I'm the other half, Joe Praska.
Set a course for love.
Ah, yes. One of your earth emotions.
Glad I found you.
Let's get married.
Delete the wife.
Before we dive in to the episode we'll be talking about, we'll explain how we got here and why. So growing up, both of our fathers were Trek fans, and so we were each exposed at a young age.
Right. Yeah. I think both of us grew up as little Trekkies. We solidified that more as we came to be adults, of course. But for me, speaking for myself, I grew up watching The Next Generation specifically a lot with my father. I watched a lot of the original series and Voyager, but now that since then I've gotten really into all the other series as well. But it's always been something that's been part of who I am and part of how I've grown up. It helped informed a lot of my pop culture viewing habits, a lot of what I love about science fiction, and a lot of just my general sense of kind of helped me define general sense of who I am to it in different times. What say you?
Well, you probably had more exposure growing up than I did. Both of our fathers have since passed, and my father passed away when I was really young. So once my father passed away, I didn't have as much exposure to it. So it was very faint early childhood memories that I had. Unlike you, who your father passed away only a few years ago when you were an adult. So we did have different experiences, but we both made a return to Trek in early college, I'd say. We kind of started out with some best of episodes from TOS and TNG, but then a couple years later we decided to go through we just sort of decided to go through each series starting with TOS from beginning to end.
Yeah, we're doing all of it, going all the way through, like chronologically, episode, even your thresholds of Voyager and all that.
Yeah, all the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. But what's I guess what we're trying to say is that it's Star Trek for us, and I think for a lot of fans out there, is definitely like a connective tissue between family and friends. So for us, it's in some ways, both of our fathers are no longer here. It's something that we can feel connected to them still in some way, and have since built a connection between ourselves, and it's something that's just part of our relationship in that way, I think. So that's why one of the big reasons we wanted to come and talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean, briefly, our history, we started dating in high school, so high school sweethearts. But then we were married in really late college. And this fall we'll celebrate 10 years married. So yeah, Trek has been a part of our relationship for many, many years. And so what's love got to do with it, Joe?
What's love got to do?
Why are we making a podcast about love in Star Trek?
I don't know. Why are we?
Well, love is an ever-present part of the human experience, wouldn't you say?
I would.
And Star Trek at its core is about exploring humanity.
And the human experience.
So while relationships in Trek are often discussed, elsewhere all over the place, we couldn't find a place that exclusively focused on romance and love in Star Trek. Maybe it exists and we just didn't find it, but I don't know.
We thought we'd take it on.
Yeah, so
we'll do our best.
We could fill that niche. So, and since we watch Trek together, we already exchange our thoughts and opinions about it. So now we're just going to do that with a mic on. And that being said, we hope to be able to feature guests on here, provide a space for different voices and perspectives. So who knows where this will go. We're starting with just us, but in the future it could be all sorts of different things, different people joining us, different perspectives, maybe in different kinds of love. Maybe we'll go different capacity. Who knows? But the goal is to just look at love in all its forms throughout different iterations of Star Trek. So we're as maybe if you've read the title or know what this is about or read the episode description, we're talking about a TOS, the original series episode, but we hope to go through all of the series in different capacities, all of them from the original all the way up through Picard, Lower Decks, and what's to come. Yes. So, Joe, you sort of started, just continue describing the episode that we're going to talk about today.
Right. We're talking about the the original series episode, The City on the Edge of Forever, which is a first season episode. It was 28th in the order of airing from 1967. So a while back, a little bit ago. Most Trek fans know a lot about this episode. It's a pretty popular one, and even non-Trek fans, it's pretty popular in pop culture. But if you perhaps need a refresher, it sort of tells the story of Dr. McCoy. After accidentally injecting himself with a powerful drug, he flees the Enterprise in like a sort of hysterical state, beams down to a planet where they find this mysterious time portal, the Guardian of Forever. He goes back in time, messes all sorts of stuff up, and effectively the Enterprise disappears, and everything that the landing party is aware of is gone. They are left there since they're in the presence of the Guardian, and then it's up to Kirk and Spock to go back in time through the portal, through the Guardian of Forever, to stop McCoy from doing whatever he's going to do to erase most of history or change most of history. So ultimately, it's a story taking place in the past. I think that's a good short synopsis, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So shall we get into it?
Yeah, you've got some trivia to share?
A little bit. So as I mentioned before, this is a pretty popular episode. It won the 1968 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation and has kind of since become one of the more iconic episodes of the original series. It was also written by one of the famed science fiction author Harlan Ellison, who famously wrote the story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, among a lot of other sci-fi stories. But famously, he was actually not happy with how this episode turned out. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't. What was his deal?
Yeah, they made a lot of changes to it. So as many Trek fans know, Gene Roddenberry kind of has a very, very particular vision about how he wanted Star Trek to be at the time, right? So some of the things that Harlan Ellison wanted to do didn't quite jive with the way Roddenberry pictured Starfleet and Starfleet crew members. So in his original script, it wasn't McCoy who went back in time. There was actually like this under the table like drug ring going on aboard the Enterprise with a crew member who was leading it. So it was this crew member named Beckwith, I think. Beckwith, yeah, that's what it was. He was dealing a narcotic called Jewels of Sound. Then when Beckwith is exposed and discovered, he escapes the ship and flees to the Guardian of Forever. Then the time portal in his version, in Ellison's version, was guarded by like godlike bearded robed figures, kind of like the portal personified, almost like what we see in Discovery, right? So he had an idea of like the portal could be like a person in a sense too. So they're basically kind of like epic fantasy looking wizard dudes, right? So the landing party beams down, and in Harlan Ellison's version, after Beckwith like changes the past, the Enterprise becomes a pirate ship. So it has elements of like mirror universe, what we would come to see the mirror universe look like too. So it's kind of interesting. Quite a few changes. Maybe those
seeds were planted, yeah.
Maybe. Actually, I'm not sure where the mirror universe episode. I think that mirror universe is season 2. Yeah. So maybe some of the seeds were planted from there. Yeah. But you can actually go back and look at Harlan Ellison's original script. I think it was published. He published an original teleplay of it in 2014 as a book. And there's a graphic novel interpretation of it, of that original version that came out in 2015. So if you want to read what that was originally going to look like, there are options out there for you.
Yeah, I can see how having an undercover drug ring on the Enterprise was not in line with what Roddenberry would.
Not Roddenberry's jam.
Not Roddenberry's jam, yeah. So, I think the change made to kind of a accidentally injected McCoy going a little crazy, I guess going really crazy, and kind of. It fit.
Yeah. So what do you think of the episode overall?
I mean, like you said, it's classic, it's iconic. So, I mean, it's hard not to love. And especially, with the ending and kind of how heartbreaking it is. It starts out pretty silly, really. I mean, McCoy, it does seem kind of fabricated. Like, how can we get these people down to this planet for whatever reason? And why would somebody jump back into the portal and change time and stuff? So, but then by the time you get to the end of the episode, it's it's profound in this way and bittersweet and sad, and kind of leaves you with like a gut punch feeling at the end.
Yeah, and they curse, right? Shatner, Kirk says, "Let's get the hell out of here."
Oh yeah,
that was a pretty big deal.
Risque.
Really risque. Yeah. No, I really like it too. I mean, it is iconic for a reason. I think for me, this episode has a lot of what I like about original Star Trek, and I feel like much of that is how well that original series could lean into almost Twilight Zone-esque elements, where the crew would encounter something just truly incomprehensible for them. Like they could kind of maybe make out just a little bit of this Guardian of Forever and what it could do, but ultimately they end the episode kind of where they began. They know nothing more about it. They just know that it has this like incomprehensible amount of power, and this awe-inspiring power to do all sorts of stuff. And as I think we see in Discovery later on, like that power has been manipulated and used, which is why the Carl character moves on. But in this case, like it is very Twilight Zone-esque. It's like, well, what did we just encounter that could have just wiped out our entire existence and everything that we know, and then they leave. So but on top of that, it just has some cool sci-fi notions, like the time travel. I really love like Spock just collecting things to make like a TV to look at future newspapers at the time or whatever he's doing, like trying to figure out what's happening. Like he's like how he needs heavy metals for his quote hobby. Like, that stuff is it's just fun, and them trying to like hide their knowledge of the future and the past. It's I don't know. It's a really fun time travel story. Time travel can be way overdone and can be not great, I think, sometimes. But one thing Star Trek tends to do, which is kind of nice, is not get into the nitty gritty of like how the time travel works. They're just kind of like, well, it just happened, and here are the consequences and the philosophical bits of it, which I think is kind of fun, because when you try to over explain the time travel is when you get weighed down so much, right? Mm-hmm.
And then it just doesn't pan out as well.
Yeah.
And, we talked about this while we were watching the episode. It's interesting to note that because we're now in, what year is it? I can't remember anymore. It's 2021.
2021.
Thank you. And this was, you said, aired in 1967. And they go back to, what's the year specifically they go back to?
1930, during the Great Depression.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was in 1930s, so Depression time.
It's a little before World War II. It was World War I had not long before it ended, because some of the like homeless folks that they work with, they're like, were you a veteran of the war? Were you in the war? Yeah. That's
right. So, but I guess like it wasn't really that far back, like, like 67 to 1930 was only, I mean, like now more time has passed between between when the episode aired and where we're at today, so they were actually closer to the past.
Yeah, it's so wild to think about, like just the imagery of it. Watching it, like 1930 seems so long ago, but like for that, when that aired, it was like it was 37 years ago, right? It was like for us, like what, 30 some years ago, like the 90s or like the late 80s. That feels like movies from then feel like not that long ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's interesting to kind of contextualize that way.
I see your note about how the outfits are really cool.
Yeah, I had to write that down. Just damn, like the outfits, like that's one of my favorite parts about this episode. Kirk's pea coat, Spock's pea coat, the beanie, the deep V like flannel.
Of course, it had to be deep V.
It's so stylish. I want to cosplay that.
You basically wear that in every day.
I try my best to. Yeah, I just gotta like yeah. And it's great. The outfits in this. I mean, even her like Edith Keeler, who we're going to be talking about a little bit more. Edith's outfits, like the wardrobes on this episode were top notch.
Yeah, for Depression era.
Yeah. I liked it, and they stole them. Didn't Kirk and Spock? They just stole their outfits.
Yeah.
Which led to, of course, the casual racism that we sometimes will see that didn't age well at all, and probably shouldn't have been in the episode, right? When he says like Spock's Chinese because of the way he looks. Ugh. Yeah, not good. Yeah, I mean, we love these episodes. Definitely not perfect.
It's one of the hard parts about watching TOS.
Yeah. I mean, even some of the 80s or 90s Trek too has some
True.
of it too, but yeah,
True.
But you definitely can. It's a little more blatant in your face sometimes in these older episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those listening, if you are familiar with this episode or maybe not so much, the Guardian of Forever, the time portal, does appear in a few more pieces of Star Trek media. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Besides Discovery, no.
So it does appear in Discovery. It appears in the third season of Discovery, the Terra Firma two-parter. You could also find the Guardian of Forever in the animated series episode from the 60s, which was featured most of the original cast reprising their roles as voice actors.
Yeah, we haven't gone through that one yet.
We haven't watched it as much yet, but the episode Yesteryear features the Guardian, as well as a lot of comics and novels in the EU. Most notably, I would say Peter David's Imzadi novel, which I would like to cover on this podcast sometime. That's a really cool one, but that has the Guardian heavily too. It's a cool concept that we don't see a lot of, and I think, and I actually kind of wonder if maybe that might be why it's so cool. Like when sometimes things are taken and explored more and more, like I said with time travel, when you kind of dig into it more, that could be a benefit, but sometimes like when something like mysterious like this, I like that it's left mysterious.
Sometimes less is more.
Sometimes less is more, exactly, yeah. So, yeah, I think needless to say, we like the episode. There's a lot to love about it, and it's iconic for a reason, as I said before. But
diving into what we're here for.
What we're here for, the love story. That was a weird way to say it. What did I do? Love? I don't know. What
Stop. No, stop.
Love.
Love story.
Yeah. You do it better than me.
You were trying.
I tried. So the love story. The love story at hand. You want to dig into what is that? What does that look like for us?
Well, it's very brief, very fleeting, and like I said, bittersweet, especially if most listeners have watched this episode, they know how it ends. Like you said, you've got a note here. I kind of like it. I just read it. It does seem, you read this from an article, you say, more deserving of the term star-crossed lovers, a man from the future. I mean, literally from the stars, according to her, and then a woman ahead of her time, which is probably where their attraction kind of happens, since she does seem ahead of her time. She seems to have inklings that Spock and Kirk are not quite from her time. There's something off about them, but she's not turned off by that. She's intrigued. And of course, because she has this sort of dreamer personality and, working for the greater good, Kirk, can't help but fall for that in Edith Keeler. And again, so she's attracted to the possible future man in front of her. She doesn't know it, but I think we could say she might suspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Edith Keeler, the character Edith Keeler that we meet in this episode, is played by the actress Joan Collins, and she was a pretty big guest star for the show at the time. She's an actress who started acting at age 9, so she's been in kind of that spotlight for a long time. But she has such a storied career as an actor in Hollywood and even in London and England, some film over there and stage productions. So she has a presence, powerhouse in this episode, and just a powerhouse in general. Like, what is she? She's been tons of TV, tons of movies, big in the soap opera Dynasty in the 80s. She recently was an American Horror Story. And she's also a writer and columnist, has written a couple best-selling novels. So she, in real life, is a powerhouse, I think.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, I don't know much about like who she is personally, but sounds like just accomplishment-wise, like she's done quite a bit. And she definitely brought it in this episode. She was a standout. And it's one of the big reasons we wanted to start with this episode. I mean, other than it's a famous episode, but just her character is so cool and so interesting to watch. And I mean, it's obviously helped by the performance, but the writing too is really good as well. But the interesting thing about her, in terms of love interest, like, and you don't always see this in these older episodes. Like sometimes the love is not always presented in the most progressive of ways, and sometimes in these old episodes. But Edith Keeler is, as you mentioned, like she's intrigued, she's fascinated. So she's presented as very capable, intelligent, and ahead of her time, right? She's able to kind of match wits with Kirk and Spock, and she feels like a really full and like lived in character that we're not just like, she wasn't just designed for this episode. She feels like somebody who has backstory, like that's believable in the story, I'd say.
Yeah, despite the mere minutes that she's probably actually on screen, it does feel like you can imagine what her life was like before Kirk and Spock showed up. And and that, that's another thing, I guess, about you just kind of pointed out, especially love interests, particularly Kirk love interests, are generally, and I mean, she's obviously beautiful, but I definitely get the sense in this episode that, like I just mentioned, it seemed more like the personalities were what was the attraction, the force of attraction, as opposed to Kirk being like, she's hot. Like, let's chat up. Like, he was definitely interested in like what was going on in her mind and in her heart.
Right. Yeah. And as we mentioned before, she's considered like a woman ahead of her time. That's sort of the crux of the episode, right? We ultimately find out, spoiler alert for a decades old episode, that when McCoy comes back in time through the Guardian, he saves Edith Keeler from being killed in an accident. She goes on to advocate against war again, for peace. A lot of the ideals that the Federation, as we see it in the series, stand for. However, that advocacy ends up delaying the U.S.'s entrance into World War II and allowing the Nazis to gain whatever advantage they needed to actually win the war, and basically flung us into a dystopia. So they talk about how she was right, but at the wrong time. Hence, a woman ahead of her time. So it's interesting. That is a notion that I think is fascinating to dig into. There's a lot you could unpack there. It's kind of Black Mirror-y in a way, like the Black Mirror show, where it's just like there's kind of like something like that, where you have the right ideas at the wrong time. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it, but I think there's a lot there, that like the idea that these ultimate morals that we all want to uphold, and like the Federation is said to uphold, like that there's a place in our history where those values just wouldn't work. Like, that's an interesting concept, and kind of hard to take in a sense.
Yeah, especially, ultimately they have the decision that they all have to make, and like letting her die. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know if like they were, wrong time or wrong place, but I mean, those should always be, but I guess those should always be like the morals and philosophy. But I guess, it's kind of the gray area in which Star Trek often operates.
Yeah, that's true. That is another reason this episode does stand out, is it does feel kind of gray in that regard with the morals. Like, I mean, it's a trolley problem, right? Like not really a trolley problem, is it? But like maybe kind of is, but like you have to Kirk and Spock, our heroes, have to let somebody die in order to like let the future that they know come to light. And when doing what would normally be considered the heroic thing, saving that person, like you're leading to a worse path, and that's a hard thing to take. And actually, honestly, this for me, this is one of Shatner's like finest outings too. I think he's obviously, he can ham it up with the best of them, and we know that. But like, I sometimes feel like when he's playing grief is sometimes when we see the spotlights of his best acting. Like I'm reminded of in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, when his son David is killed, and he's just backing into his captain's chair, and he falls. He can't even sit on the chair, and he falls to the ground. It's like, you Klingon bastards, you killed my son. Like that scene, like one of his most powerful acting scenes. And I feel like this part, when he stops Bones from saving Edith Keeler from getting hit by a car, like Bones is like, "Do you know what you've just done, Jim?" And he just wordless, says nothing, but it's all on his face. And he just closing his eyes, he's hugging, he's just gripping Bones. It's just such a powerful moment. And I think that like this like smaller, subtle moments from Shatner are some of his best.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Less is more.
Less is more. I guess that's the theme of the episode, isn't it?
I guess it is.
Yeah. So.
And I find it interesting too. We're talking McCoy. He's kind of the catalyst for this episode, but I just like true to his roots and as a doctor, even when he was kind of, I mean, I guess we don't know whether, because he kind of recovered from his accidental overdose of, I don't remember what the drug's name is, but
I think it's a made up sci-fi thing.
I think it is made up,
yeah.
but he's recovered, at least in this version where Kirk and Spock have come back. And so he was like with it when he was about to save Edith, but I guess we don't necessarily know that.
Oh, that's a really interesting point. I didn't really think about the fact that when he kind of lost his like mental faculties, or he wasn't really like he was kind of like going mad. You always assume that he was mad and he went back and like did something crazy, but he was back. He's kind of like had regained his sense of self and who he was. His paranoia had disappeared, and that's when he actually made the decision. That is interesting.
McCoy, like his instinct to save people.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you pointed out, kind of the ironic twist in that he had to let go of that in that moment in order for things to be as they should, I suppose.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's good.
So Kirk and Edith, though, and so Spock can see this happening from a mile away, of course, since he's warning, even before they know ultimately what they're there to do or what event they have to prevent from happening or whatever. Even before they know all the facts, Spock's like, I don't think you should get attached, basically.
Yeah. There's that moment when she like trips down the stairs and Kirk saves her, and Spock's like,
She could have died right then.
That could have been it. Come on, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's almost like the universe was trying to kill Edith.
Yeah.
It's really terrible, but at least, I don't know. I mean, at some point, like, there's the line where Spock reveals to Jim, like, Edith Keeler must die in order. And then it's like, well, at least they didn't have to, like, actually, like, take her out.
Didn't have to do the deed.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been dark.
Too dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That was on my mind when I watched the episode. I'm like, good thing it didn't come to that.
Right. Yeah. It's for as much praise as we're heaping on it and for as good it is, like, I think there is something to be said for, like, it kind of, like, I guess I don't know at the time if this was a trope, but the notion that the woman kind of has to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
That does, that is a kind of an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, for as intelligent and capable as she's, made out to be, and, very more than two-dimensional. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This, like, awesome female character. Like, the ultimate twist in the plot was that she had to die. Yeah. That's
like she
shitty.
has to die for the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shitty, exactly. But it kind of reminds me a little bit, like, it reminds me of in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, Dr. Gillian Taylor, Catherine Hicks' character, and how she is a little bit ahead of her time too, right? When she meets Kirk, like they have a, it's a little flirtatious. There's not much of a romance there, but there's this kind of connection where she doesn't quite feel like she belongs in her time, and he sees this kind of potential in her a little bit. And even though he doesn't try to bring her to the future, like, she kind of, like, worms her way onto this ship and, like, surprise, that moment, and then goes to the future and joins the Federation. And of course, we never follow up with that again, but like, it's
that could have been Edith Keeler's
yeah, so just thinking, like, that wouldn't have been great if, like, that could have been a thing. Like, they could have just brought her to the future. I mean, that would have had to be serialized storytelling where you added a new character, I guess, maybe, but who knows? I mean, there's just another alternative. But
so many people disappear.
Yeah. Oh, all the time. But at the same time, like, if that would have happened, I wonder if the episode would have hit as hard and would have been as iconic as it was.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, sometimes when it's too clean of an ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
The Clark Gable. I love the Clark, or what did she say? My
young man.
My young man.
My young man is taking me to a Clark Gable film.
That's really sweet.
It's super sweet.
They didn't even get to go on their date.
Why don't you call me your young man?
I guess you are younger than me.
That's true. 6 months, everybody, so it's not weird.
I don't know. I'll think about it.
Okay. Shall we get into our rating?
Yeah, so one thing we kind of developed for this podcast is, I guess, a rating system, for lack of a more cool term, of our overall thoughts on the relationship in the episode, or whatever relationship we're talking about.
The relationship in question, the love story in question, or the whatever in question that we're talking about. We have a rating system, a patented rating system that we will get into here. Do you want to explain it, or should I?
See, we
can go back and forth.
5.
It's a 5-point scale.
It's a 5-point scale. Basically, we just came up with fun Trek terms for each level. And so we'll start at the bottom. Red alert.
Red alert. Red alert is a super toxic, bad relationship that we think was something that should be avoided at all costs.
Or it was good that it ended.
Good that it ended, yeah. Or the episode handled it poorly.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have a yellow alert.
Yellow alert.
Yellow.
Which would be yellow, caution.
Yeah, caution, little, I'm unsure about this one, yeah.
Yeah, probably less than positive, but not necessarily on a toxic level.
Right.
Kind of like one we wouldn't want to see fleshed out further.
Yeah, or yeah, it was just done at that point, yeah.
Yep, over and done.
And then we have...
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
And fascinating is, okay, I think we're into this. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Could use some more. Could use a little bit more. There's some flaws, some drawbacks, but we're into it.
Yeah, kind of that neutral, not bad, but could be better.
Yeah. And then, of course, the next step up, we have our fully functional,
I am fully functional.
which means
This is the one you really wanted to add.
this is the one I like. I
The
wanted
term
this
you
in.
wanted to add on the
wanted this
list.
in here,
yeah. So
But fully functional is a go. All systems point to go. This is a good relationship. We think highly about it. In our humble opinions, we think it's a good one. A positive relationship for the most part. Maybe a little bit of flaws here and there. Maybe some things we'd tweak if we were writing or anything, or critique from our armchair critic spots. But yeah, fully functional, positive.
And at the very top of the scale, the 5 out of 5 is resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
Okay.
Okay, I had to say it. Sorry.
Where basically just 5 out of 5 stars, 2 thumbs up.
Too much to resist.
Too much to resist.
Too hot.
Yes.
Hot.
Too hot to handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or cute. I guess
Or
it could be
cute,
cute. Yeah. It doesn't
yeah.
have to be. Or just like pleasant or positive.
Yeah.
Or just like good. It's just the best. It's like we have no faults in it. We're all about it. So perfect. Maybe not perfect, but good relationship.
As close as you can get.
Good depictions and all that. So we like it. So resistance is futile. Hard to resist.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's our rating system. And we'll detail that, of course, more as we come on. And folks who are regular listeners of the Deep Space Love podcast will hopefully get a good grasp of that as we go. But do you have a thought? Do you have a thought on our rating scale? Where do you think the relationship between Jim KIRK, Edith Keeler, and the City on the Edge of Forever stands on our 5-point scale?
Well, so I think perhaps for each relationship or episode that we do, we'll each give an opinion. And so for me, between Jim KIRK and Edith Keeler, I rated it a fascinating. It's obviously, basically it is fascinating. Like, we're kind of talking about, star-crossed lovers, a man out of time, a woman ahead of her time. I think like it was kind of adorable while it lasted, but there was really no way it was ever going to like work on a long-term scale. So yeah, I don't know if, I couldn't really put it at like a fully functional because it didn't function for very long, but it was cool and interesting. Also, it had a really sad ending. So what did you rate it?
I gave it a fully functional.
Okay. Tell me why.
Some of the reasons that you said is why I didn't give it the resistance is futile level. But I liked it. I liked the relationship quite a bit. It feels like, for the most part, they're presented as equals. Although it's clear that there's a lot that KIRK isn't telling her, right? He's holding out. So the relationship ultimately is sort of built on some secrets, even though that's kind of eking out as we go. That's why I didn't put it as a full-on resistance is futile. I thought it's still pretty good. Still some secrets, still some problems there, right? But there isn't this sense of any like hard to get or KIRK has to like win her over kind of thing. And I really appreciate that we didn't have any of that. And I thought that's impressive for like the storytelling at that time too. And so that's why I feel like just contextualizing there, it bumped it up for me a little bit more. It just feels very mutual. It feels very respectful. I felt pretty good. If what I wrote in my notes when I was actually writing this, I already talked about, but like it'd be better if she was able to come to the future with them. Like it'd be better for them as if they were real characters. Like I would be happy for them. But in terms of the narrative structure, it's like, again, we talked about it's more powerful this way, I'm sure. But for me, it's a fully functional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for our first episode. So we mentioned in our teaser that we plan to release monthly. So tune in next month. This will be released in April. And so come back in May and look for what will be our second episode. Do we want to say, we kind of planned what we're going to go over. Do you want to give a tease?
What is it?
We will be launching a little bit further ahead in Trek franchise to a Lower Decks episode. So.
Oh, and that's why you said tune in, a homophone, right? Tune, T-O-O-N, because it's a cartoon, right?
Sure. Yeah. If you like what you heard and you want to find us online, we're on Twitter at DSLovePod. And if you really liked us, you can leave us a 5-star rating or just any good rating wherever you are listening to this podcast. Thank you very much.
And until next time,
Love long and prosper.